But we've been having this fake economic growth ever since the 1990s with Alan Greenspan, because all we do is get higher numbers, right? Like the Dow Jones, and it's a little bit better now, but the Dow Jones so far since 2021 is up a little over a little over fourfold, and gold is up eightfold. So, what does that tell you is actually happening? The market was going down. The GDP.
They say the economy's booming, GDP is up, and we're heading for prosperity. But is that real growth or just another illusion? Peter Schiff dives into what's really happening behind the numbers and why all the issues Trump was elected to solve may be getting worse. Why is gold losing ground? And what does a stronger dollar mean for the future? Stay tuned as Peter exposes the deeper story on gold, the dollar, and the global economy, and reveals why the real risks might be hiding in plain sight.
The GDP, if you measure it in gold, real money has been collapsing. But if you measure it in fake money, in dollars, the GDP is going up. All the pundits, especially the Democrats, they can't understand why Harris didn't win. Because the economy is so great. Just look at the government numbers, and that proves it. Look at our strong GDP. Look at our low unemployment. All these numbers are a function of inflation masquerading as growth. The real economy is weak. It's been weak for a long time. That's why people are struggling. That's why they have no savings. That's why people are working 2 or 3 jobs just to pay the bills. They tell us that the GDP is up and the economy is getting better. So yes, we can get more fake economic growth, but at the end of Trump's term, and all the problems he was elected to solve will just be worse. And now we're going to have to elect a Democrat because now we need change, right? We keep going Democrat, Republican, Democrat, because you always want to throw the bums out because the problems keep getting worse, because nobody wants to actually solve them, because solving them requires some short-term pain. Trump didn't promise any short-term pain. He said, you elect me and it will boom immediately. It'll be a huge economic boom and you're all going to be rich. That was what he was selling to the voters. Well, because again, everything is risk on, right? Gold is risk off. So people think the U.S. economy is going to boom. The stock market's going to boom. Why do I want to own a safe haven like gold when I can make a fortune in the stock market in this booming economy? They also think that the strong economy is going to mitigate the rate cuts. So we won't get as many rate cuts as the market might have thought. So they think that higher interest rates is a negative for gold. Yeah. Also supporting the dollar. We've had a big rally in the dollar since Trump won, and so that is weighing heavily on gold. Also, we've had some comments, and speculation that the BRIC nations and other nations that were moving away from the dollar are now going to embrace it because they don't want to piss off Trump because he's threatening all these tariffs. And so maybe because now we got, a new sheriff in town, that the move out of the dollar is going to slow, and that the central bank buying of gold, because if central banks try to be more friendly to the dollar to appease Trump, and hey, we're not selling our dollars, right? Don't tariff us. Look, we're your buddies. If they're going to stop that, if they're going to stop selling their gold, their dollars, they don't have to buy as much gold. So there's a lot of reasons that people are thinking, hey, this is going to be bad for gold. Now, look, gold went up by about 40% during Trump's first term, about 10% a year. And so it wasn't like, gold didn't do well when Trump was president. But I think it's actually going to do a lot better, despite what the markets are saying right now. I think the markets are wrong again on this. I think a Trump presidency is very inflationary, but that's not bad for gold, because the Fed is not going to fight the inflation. In fact, if it tries, the Trump administration is going to beat up the Fed pretty bad, and then put a lackey in there when Powell's term is over, if Powell doesn't cooperate, because Trump wants low interest rates. If you remember, when he was president the first time, he was very critical of Powell for raising rates. He demanded lower rates. He wanted rate cuts. He wanted negative interest rates. He was upset that Europe had negative interest rates and we didn't. He wanted more quantitative easing. And the only way to finance these tax cuts without skyrocketing long-term interest rates is to go back to quantitative easing. So I think that this is going to be an inflationary, 4 years. And I think the short-term impact of the tariffs, of kicking out the illegal immigrants and the tax cuts is going to accelerate an inflation that was already on the rise. So I think the dollar's rise is going to be short-lived, just like gold's decline. Now, by short-lived, could it go on for weeks? Could it go on for months? Sure. I don't know. Like, I don't have a crystal ball as to when the markets are going to turn. Now, Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is rising. And it's interesting because with everything that I'm describing, you would assume Bitcoin would be going down, right? Because Bitcoin was sold to people as, hey, this is a safe haven asset because the US dollar's in trouble. We have big deficits. We're going to have a lot of inflation. They're going to print a lot of money and buy Bitcoin because it's a better store of value than gold. It's digital gold. Well, actual gold is tanking. So why isn't digital gold tanking? Because Bitcoin isn't digital gold. It's really anti-gold. Bitcoin is a risk-on asset. But the reason it's rising now is because everybody expects the Trump administration to basically do all these great things to get people to buy Bitcoin, such as eliminate all the capital gains taxes on Bitcoin. Hey, you can make a lot of money on Bitcoin. It's all tax-free. And they're thinking that they're going to start a U.S. Bitcoin reserve, and they're going to go into the market and print even more money, create even more inflation to actually buy Bitcoin. Like, the last thing we need is the U.S. government to go into deeper debt to buy nothing, to buy worthless tokens. But that's great for the people who own those worthless tokens because they can sell them to the U.S. government, who doesn't give a damn how much money they lose buying these things because it's not their money. And what they'd be doing is they're rewarding people who voted for them. You know, Trump, when he was president the first time, said Bitcoin was a scam. He said it was a fraud, said it wasn't currency. Its value, it had no value. Its value came out of thin air, that it was a threat to the dollar, to the U.S. financial system. He couldn't have said more negative things about Bitcoin. Why did he change his mind? Did he really have this epiphany? No. He changed his mind for the same reason a lot of other people have done a 180. It was the money that corrupted him. So he wanted to run for president. And these Bitcoin guys are like, hey, you promote Bitcoin and we will write you huge checks. We will be your biggest donors if you just come out and support Bitcoin. And what Trump needed were young voters, because the Republicans don't do as well in the young demographic, because usually you need more life experience to be a Republican, right? There's an old saying, you know, if you're not a Democrat by the time you're 21, you don't have a heart. If you're not a Republican by the time you're 28, you don't have a head, right? So younger people, they're naive, they're idealistic, they believe all this BS by the Democrats. But there's a lot of young people who own Bitcoin, and Donald Trump promised to make them rich. Vote for me, and I will buy your Bitcoin, and you'll be a millionaire. Because the gold industry didn't donate a bunch of money to the Trump campaign. I mean, it's, you know, this was all patronage. I mean, Trump was pandering to voters by promising them to give them something. I mean, I really thought it was almost the low point of the campaign, and maybe in political history. It was an outright bribe, right? You vote for me, and I'll buy the asset that you own. Right? I'll buy what you own to drive up the price so you could sell it and make money. I mean, it was really horrible when you think about what you know, that promise. You know, it's, you know, Kamala Harris was trying to bribe voters differently. You have a kid, I'll give you $7,000 a kid. You have a business, I'll give you, you know, $50,000. You want to buy a house, I'll give you $25,000 for the down payment. Right? It was a bidding war. But most of Trump's giveaways were in the form of tax cuts, or I'm going to buy your Bitcoin, right? But it's all the same thing. You're buying votes. And now the election is over, and, you know, some people expect, you know, to get paid. Hey, I helped you get elected, so, you know, you owe me, right? I mean, that's the problem with democracy. Now, again, a lot of people are going to, you know, Trump's not going to be able to keep all these promises, but I don't think Trump actually believes any of this BS about Bitcoin. I don't think he's changed his mind. I think what he said in 2016 and 17 and 18 is what he actually believed, because he wasn't running for office. There was no Bitcoin lobbying group. So he spoke his mind. Now I think he just told a lie, you know, because that's what politicians do. You tell people what they want to hear so you get their money and you get their votes. And the thing about Bitcoin was it was a great political position to take because Trump did not lose any votes by being pro-Bitcoin. The people who don't own Bitcoin, they didn't care. But he gained a lot of votes by the people who own Bitcoin. That's why Kamala Harris's position hurt, although she tried to change her mind. Oh, I like Bitcoin too. But she lost a lot of voters, young voters, who might have voted for her, but they want to get rich on their Bitcoin stack.
The promises of booming growth and prosperity may sound appealing, but the reality often tells a different story. As Peter explained, the economy's deeper issues aren't going away. They're only getting harder to ignore. Thanks for watching, and if today's insights opened your eyes, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on Peter's latest analyses. And check out these videos to dive even further into the forces shaping our financial future. Until next time, stay informed and stay prepared.